Hello, my loves. Hello, my loves. Hello, my loves. Just realized that my flowers are dead in the background. I'm like, that's not very attractive. Not very attractive. But now I've pointed them out. You're all going to be looking at them. That's the funny thing about consciousness and awareness. So, beautiful beloveds, brothers and sisters, talking about a concept that happens very strongly and might have already started to show up. If you're new to my channel and you started hearing the soul education, the soul work, and the pathway of awakening to your Dharma, the spiritual evolution that exists within your experience, then it could have accelerated. If you are new to this space, or if you've thought about booking in, or if you have found yourself in anything that might elevate your dharmic and soul experience. So this is something that happens quick, rapid, and quite confrontingly often. So what we're talking about is how the agenda derails you from stepping into your soul remembrance, stepping into your purpose. So we are looking at exactly how the different things that present and why it occurs, and what happens when it does, and how you can work through it, because it is something that happens very much specifically when there's still a lot of fear that exists within one's consciousness around being judged, shamed, wronged, stepping outside of the box, perhaps the fear of failure, the fear of success. So as long as there is a sense of fear that still exists within you, and you're moving towards your soul's remembering, your soul's purpose, this will be something that gets utilized as a deterrent from you stepping into those big moments of transformation. So there's some really big opportunities that occur where there is a powerful experience that would just catapult you into yourself. And some of these things, if we look at them, might be something like a medicine ceremony. And I remember the first time that I became really aware of this as a potential hazard in soul development and soul growth when I was working with coaching and helping people heal, was understanding the layers of resistance to something that is life-changing. So the layers of resistance, the layers of ego, the layers of not self, the layers of fear that exist, and what's happening is they start to get activated. So when you are about to launch yourself onto your soul's purpose, into your soul's remembering, there'll be certain things that will come into your experience, and you will start to flirt with them. You'll start to play with them. You'll start to experience them in different ways. And these rememberings might be through words, common words. You might be getting referred to the same book. Or for me, a big one for me was like getting referred to for quite a few years before I actually chose it, because of the resistance layers, was actually a specific church. I kept meeting people from the same church, and I started thinking, that's peculiar. These people are really beautiful people. I wasn't religious at all, and that the church just kept coming back and cycling, until one day I was doing a lash appointment with a woman from this specific church, and she preached to me for the 3-hour appointment. And I remember sitting there going, God's telling me directly that I need to go to this church. Now, it took me quite a lot of preparation to have those synchronicities happen. But when I went, it was like my soul opened, and I remembered, and I reclaimed my path and my devotion to the relationship with God before all else. Now, I wasn't seeing it in the same way that the religious and spiritual churches see it. But for me, it was, if I devoted to God, then I devoted to my Dharma, and that was the number one thing in my experience. So soul work, or soul remembering, dharmic path can become a little bit fearful, because what we have is we have a lot of unconscious remembering. We remember our blueprint. We remember why we came. We remember what we have to offer the world. We remember what we could call or experience as a pressure or we remember and realize at an unconscious level what we might have to go through to actually step into that embodiment and to be that expression in itself. And so as you are heading closer to awakening to your soul remembering, to awakening to your soul's dharma, to that pathway, which is one path, multiple, it's like stepping onto that one highest timeline, that one path of contribution, and the massive shifts that happen when we do that. There's the layers of infiltration, manipulation, and distraction that come up. So what I find as a typical for my clients and people that start listening and receiving from my channel or from my Dharma. So my Dharma, if you haven't heard it, my purpose is to activate the remembrance of who you truly are so you can live in alignment with your soul's desires, right? So to live by your soul, and I'm here to activate that remembrance. That's why I show up here. That's what I talk about. That's what I'm developing. It's how I'm helping people guide them into their blueprints, building soul businesses. All of this is because that's my purpose. Now, for me to step into my purpose, I obviously had to go through that process by myself, and to awaken to my own dharma, to awaken to my own truth, and to walk that path. And then when I started to be this mirror, what I started to find was, as I was helping people make that shift themselves from their heart into their sacral, for man and for woman. So it's when the heart goes through its purification, we become able to have some level of self-love. Then we start to step into the purpose pathway. So the heart purifies, it stabilizes, we know love, we experience love, we start showing up no longer from the extremes of light and dark, no longer from the extremes of maybe anger and rage and frustration into helplessness or victimization. There's a balance point. We don't have to be too hard or too soft. We don't have to be these extremes is where the heart starts to come in. Now that is an indication that you're getting ready to go into, if you've been developing self-love, into your soul's purpose. If self-love and your heart has been a focus in some form, then purpose and dharmic awakening, soul remembering, is the next step. And that's the sacral chakra. And so what happens is the channels start to connect and commune, and you'll get all these insights. Now you might be guided to someone like myself who does this as a living to share those messages that help those pathways connect. And what that does is that it will help to crystalline and finalize some of the heart energies just through our communications, just through being in witness, just through your aha moments, your realizations. And that connects the system so that the purpose can start to be understood through the heart octaves. Now, as you awaken to your purpose, as you awaken to the need to find your purpose, as you awaken to soul remembrance, what happens is there will be specific pivotal experiences. Maybe it is a ayahuasca journey. Maybe it is a session or a mentorship. Maybe it is going to a specific land or vacation. Maybe it is choosing to learn a specific course or something that is taking place in your experience. And what happens at that point is all of the resistance layers, all of those things come up, and they start to create a sense of fear of what you're about to step into, a sense of fear of remembering who you are, a sense of fear of remembering why you came, a sense of fear of how big it is, how important it is. And that fear is what they target. So what I've witnessed as some examples is I've had clients have one session with me and they've had visitations from dark entities saying that Giaya is bad, she's dark, she has demons, and don't listen to her, don't go back to her. So dark entities coming in over her bed and telling her how bad of a person I am. Now, it's quite interesting and paradoxical, right? Because if you had angels coming over and saying how bad someone was, maybe that would be a little bit more believable. But when you've got dark entities and beings that try to hurt you, to tell you not to do something, that's not truth. That is manipulation. What they start to do is, I've seen many of my clients wake up in the middle of the night and they'll hear noises, or what we call toning or vibrational influence. And so it might be a slight humming, or they might be in a dream and then something's been dropped into their dream that brings up a fear. So they might be having whatever their dream is, and suddenly something enters that's not their subconscious or their guidance, and you can feel the difference. And so there's entities and specific triggering visuals that get placed into dream states to start to generate fear. There is the chatter. So the not self or the ego can get louder. Now, the ego entity is not you, but it can be implanted with specific thoughts. Now, implants are generated. So an implant that becomes something that exists within you can activate, and it will start saying a repetitive thought or a repetitive feeling to lower your vibrational frequency, because the more your frequency can be disrupted, the less likely you are to choose your soul's purpose, the less likely you are to walk your dharmic path. The more you can be, I guess, disrupted, and the specific word I'm looking for, negotiated with in a way that changes your thought perceptions and your thinking and feeling. So because of my service to the 144, because of my service to humanity, I am here to help activate remembering, right? So the common thing is demonizing me and saying that I'm not as pure as I am. I'm dark. There is holograms that gets created. So if you were to say go to a ceremony, you might see your shaman come in and you start to see a demonic mask or a hologram over them, and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel safe to go there anymore, right? But you got guided there. It was true. It was completely in soul alignment, and suddenly fear comes up. Suddenly an intensity of the unknown comes there. And so what takes place is people as well, because in day-to-day life, you have people that are here to support your mission, and you have people here to very much disrupt and derail your mission. They may be in your family, they may be in your workplace, they may be in your friendship groups, and they are supportive angels and supportive soul brothers and sisters, as well as those that have been assigned to intentionally take you away from who you are, which means it might be a conversation you have with a friend, and you don't realize that this friend, every time you leave, you feel drained. Every time you leave, you're like, oh, that was a lot. I love them, but I just don't have the energy to give them. That is where there's disruptors. There's people that will siphon your energy, that they will take from you so that your frequency is lower, and they'll implant little things like, oh, I just think that you need to be alone and heal. Or I just think that maybe that's a lot of money to invest in that, right? So it comes from a place of care, but it's actually not caring. It's coming from a manipulation that exists within the conversational thread, so that you can be disrupted from doing something that could change and transform your entire life, because you allowed someone to influence or penetrate your field with something that is actually going on within them. And they're very much there to do this. I have had journeys with individuals that were only assigned to be my friend, to take me off my path, that were there to be intentional influences, to slow down my progression, to cause me enough distraction. Now, these are relationships that are not harmonic. They are not synergized. They're not, this is so easeful and graceful. I just feel so bright and light when I leave you. There is a push and pull energy. So if there's push and pull energy, there is distortion, there is manipulation. Now, that push and pull energy that comes from the dynamic of being pushed and pulled by the outside, or it comes from an internal distortion, which will create that push and pull. Because God and the true communion conversation with the soul is not that. The soul is truth. The truth will be my truth and your truth. The truth is consistent and stable and known, and moment to moment it will reveal, but it's not going to be different to your truth. So if you were to say have a real change before going to an ayahuasca ceremony where suddenly it actually isn't the truth to go, and it's not based on, oh my God, I'm afraid of what I'm going to awaken to or remember or transform into, and suddenly all of those things are coming up, a real change would be you would contact the facilitator or the practitioner, and you would be like, I've had a message that it's no longer true for me to move forward with this, and I just feel that it's not my time, or maybe I'm not ready, but my guidance is this. And the facilitator and the practitioner will be like, yeah, actually I can sense that. Maybe we need to look at doing it in a couple of months, or maybe there's some steps here to do. It will be reflected. That truth will be reflected in the mirrors of your experience, which is called data or validation points, in assimilating a pathway that is in resonance to God speaking from here to God speaking out there. If the inner is not matching the outer, or the outer is not matching the inner, then it is the agenda working in some form. Now, the agenda can only work through you where you have vulnerability, where you have wounding, where you have a level of fragmentation, a expression of self that is able to be attached to. You cannot receive psychic attack. You cannot be controlled. You cannot be manipulated unless there is something that they feed off and can hook into. So that can be that you don't feel worthy of love. That can be that you don't feel worthy of the path that God bestowed upon you. And so they hook into that, and that's their entry point. So if there's something that's coming up and you're aware that, wow, I've been doing all this heart energy, I'm about to step into my soul remembering, I'm being drawn to soul's purpose and soul evolution more and more, and this is happening, then the awareness is, okay, what do I need to see around myself that could potentially be a hazard for the agenda to manipulate with me with? What is there? Am I afraid of my potential? Am I afraid to remember my past lives? Am I afraid of seeing between worlds? Am I afraid of that one experience where I had a visitation when I was 4? Am I afraid of when I started levitating and I didn't know what was happening and I freaked out? So those things that would be some kind of ethereal or multidimensional expression of your purpose and your dharma that have been there, that help you to walk through into, okay, before I actually go into this remembrance, I'm going to work on those things that I'm actually afraid of, that I can feel or perceive are right there, but I don't know what they are. Instead, I'm not going to let those distractions come in. I know that I don't know what's on the other side. I know it's big. I know it's powerful, and I'm going to sit in trust. I'm going to really allow myself to know that I was guided to this for a reason. I was guided to this because it's important. I wasn't taken on this path in truth in those moments because something is going to hurt me. I'm not taken on that pathway because I'm being deceived. And if you're aware of this, then you can start to reconcile and go, okay, what are my core beliefs about myself that could be effectively used against me? Now, our greatest strengths are usually our greatest weaknesses. So for me, my purpose and my path, and I do this and we are doing this in New Earthers at the moment. So if purpose is very important for you, if you realize that you're stepping into purpose, we've just gone through divine partnership. It was all heart energy, right? So that's all been there. You can receive all of the transmissions. We've done all this powerful, beautiful recommunion to divine partnership in love. And now we've moved into purpose. And we establish and start to understand what are my stoppers in purpose. What is the one thing that pulls me off my path over and over and over again in purpose? Now, for me, even though I knew this, I still had, because it was one of my biggest transformations, right? I still was able to get manipulated or distracted because I wasn't really willing at the time to see how much of a driver it was and how much it was so true for me as a strength, and also but how much of a weakness it was. I was still not able to bring those together, and mine was divine partnership. So my knowing of my soul's blueprint, my knowing of why I came here was to create an empire with a divine partner. And that is what kept me healing. It is what kept me moving through the pain, the suffering. It's what helped me create the DAC process. It's what helped me to pick myself up when I was too tired and didn't know how I was going to go through the next layer of my psyche. And this attachment, because that's what it was at the time, was also a driver. It was a knowing and it was an attachment. It was a truth and it was a belief. So it held all of those energies. And that was what was the vulnerability point, is that I had partnerships being the biggest pull away from my purpose, because the agenda would come in the form of an inverted divine union, and they would love spell me and gaslight me and love bomb me and all the things, because I was so desperate to be on purpose with a divine other. And so I didn't see, and although that is my truth still, and I'm working towards that, and with the man that has been in my experience, reconciling to get to that point where we can be that service, but we have our own inner work to do at this point, right? Which is exactly this. It's, I need to make sure that every element of my internal structures are in alignment, because self has to be strong, in the form of, if I had have known in the past how attached I was, that it was going to take me off my path, I would have focused on my path to bring me to the divine partnership, right? If I had have stayed focused on my path, my purpose, my truth, my knowing, I help heal the hearts of men by holding them in that compassionate energy. I help to awaken the goddess into their new earth purpose. I help to read blueprints. If I was established in continually doing that, having these conversations and showing up and educating and sharing, that's me on purpose. Guess what? That paves the pathway. Each time I serve myself and my purpose, me and my divine other get closer together. It's not the other way. I don't focus on you and then get closer to my purpose. I get connected to my purpose and then I get closer to the truth. So you need to see what's your influencer. What is your truth? Because everything around your purpose will be your strongest gift and your hardest cultivation. So I have, as another example, the modality being the DAC process, which is going to be a global transformation in healing the fragmented psyche through the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Completes suffering forever. Anyone who wants to experience that can, and they can close out big cycles of mother wounds or father wounds or sister wounds, or the saboteur or the addiction or whatever it is. The layers can collapse complete paradigms of existence that have existed from the point of your origin on the earth, your Anunnaki, whatever it is there that you might be experiencing. That doesn't reloop. It reconciles into wholeness, and you can't pick it back up. But what I had to do was I had to realize I was so obsessed with the healing of humanity that I was only healing myself to heal humanity. So I had to see that, yes, I'm here to help heal humanity, but I had to get to that point where I no longer was focusing on humanity to really heal the last elements of myself, because it was no longer of service. I wasn't able to serve until I was going through those points of information. So your purpose will be the things that have been the most challenging in your life. and they will be the infiltration points. So if you've been super duper duper challenged with finances and scarcity, if you've lived in a lot of poverty, I can guarantee you're probably here to bring some kind of prosperity, abundance, and generative nourishment to life, to yourself, whether it's in this incarnation or whether you follow that cycle into the next incarnation. If you've been someone like myself that's had a lot of trauma and you've experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, then you're here to lead the path of being in a healed, whole, and stable present experience, because that's how it works. So looking through your life here and now and going back of like, what are the hardest things for me? The hardest things. Okay, the hardest things for me was has been unworthiness and constantly failing at business, constantly failing at hobbies, constantly failing, dropping out of education. This failure is one of my biggest challenges. My family is one of my biggest challenges, biggest wounds, biggest hurt points. Okay, beautiful. So success is actually a part of your dharma, and having a family communion or a holy family is the gift on the other side. And so this will provide you the awareness of what your biggest challenges are. Keep showing up there. What they are will provide the gifts and the information. But remembering, as you're about to go into this soul remembrance, into this dharmic path, into this journey forward, that they will be the thing. The failure will come up louder and louder and louder and louder right before you're about to move through that quantum shift, that breakthrough. If it's your family, they will start to have family challenges. You'll start to have family discord. Your parents or your siblings will start to say certain things, and it will detour you from the truth of what you're about to experience and unfold in. And this gives you a lot of insight, gives you a lot of capability. It gives you a lot of awareness to go, oh, I see what this is. I get it. It's a distraction from the truth. The more that you can see where something has happened, it doesn't have to be demonized. It doesn't have to be wrong. It's, oh, that actually was to take me from what I was being guided to. And thank you. I love you, but no, I'm not going to listen to you. Just like the chatter in your head. The more that, and this was one of the first things that I ever learned and taught as a coach, was if you have a lot of negative framing in your head, you're going to be challenged to choose a aligned, positive, confident, loving expression of yourself. So when you get up, I want you to be aware and notice yourself. Notice when you wake up in the morning, what is the first thoughts that you have? Fuck, I'm so tired. Oh, I don't want to go to work today. Oh, I just want to snooze. Oh, my back hurts. If that's the narrative that you've got running, then you need to witness it first. And so I got people, I don't work with many people at that level of consciousness anymore, but it's a part of the process. It's a powerful part, and it can still help you to recognize what's your thoughts, what's the truth, and how to transform your thinking mind. Is that if you can be aware, you spill your coffee and you're like, oh, fuck, I always do that. Oh, I'm always so clumsy. That is the distortion that is running from your mind. If you can witness it, and if you can become aware of it and be like, thank you for sharing, but I actually choose not to think this way about myself anymore. I choose to think instead X, Y, and Z. So the thought form might be, you're such a fucking loser. Stop. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing, but I'm not listening anymore. I'm learning to love myself and to see how successful I am, because I am whatever, right? So whatever that reprogram is, that helps so much in the initial stages. Just witnessing it is enough to have your entire consciousness transform very, very, very quickly. So those are some of the areas of awareness of how you could be aware of the distractions, the infiltrations. One of the things that happened to me recently when I was moving through my last journey, which was hard because it was the journey of transcendence into the void, and the descended pathway of coming into presence or samadhi. And I didn't really recognize how much, because it was so quick and accelerated, and the pathway that I had created, I needed a touch point, and I didn't have the support that I needed until later. And that's okay. But one of the detours was I was about to do something that was very supportive and progressive in my healing and reconciliation journey. And what happened was all of my smoke alarms went off and just started going off and going off. I couldn't turn them off. I couldn't reset them. And I'm very, very, very sensitive to tones. So I know that's a weakness for me, which is when I'm stabilizing a new level of attainment, I don't go out into noisy places. I don't listen to sensory things like TV or music, because I'm so absorbent through my hearing. My hearing is like one of my greatest gifts, because I can hear God and I can transcribe and do direct channels. I can hear tiny little octaves, and I can hear light and translate that into word, but it's also an attack system for me. So the smoke alarms were triggered by the agenda because I didn't have a strong enough protection field up at the time, and I wasn't aware of what I was going through, that I was vulnerable. And it through, and I had to clear my field. And as soon as I realized what was happening, I was like, oh my God, this was a sound attack. I was able to reset myself, and like recode the house, put the protection fields up, recognize what was trying to take place, and take power back and move forward with the beautiful unfolding that occurred from that. So bad things don't just happen. Everything happens for a reason. Everything has a trigger point. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a point of direction. So if there's a lot of shitty things happening, then where are you needing to redirect yourself? Because if shitty things are happening in your life, it's because you're off your path. It's because you're not listening. It's because things have to get louder for you to redirect and recognize and move into something that is more true. Because when you're aligned, when you're in your soul, when you're in your heart, life is easy. Life is grateful. It will give back. You'll get, the pay it forward coffee at the coffee shop. You'll find $20 on the ground. Those are the things that happen when you're aligned. You don't have shit, just doesn't happen. Shit happens for a reason. And that will help you to understand if you're suddenly feeling shit, then where are you being realigned and guided so that you can connect more to your soul and your truth. So thank you for receiving this transmission. It's been really nice to be back on YouTube live, sharing my wisdom, my knowledge, soul development. If you are interested in doing a deep dive into your soul's purpose or into any healing elements, you can find my links below. My main focus is to help individuals that are ready to step into building their dharmic path. It is a big investment. Time, energy, sacred exchange, readiness, because we're building the foundations of your entire dharmic path from your soul. So that is quite an investment. Most people aren't ready for that, and that's okay. But I do invite those that are. If you are wanting to just get a little bit more clearer, receive transmissions, clarity, New Earthers Mystery School, our purpose cycle is perfect for you. If you would like to experience the DAC process, the revolutionary, world's first complete healing modality, then you can find a link to doing the 30-minute sessions. But I will be opening to doing more in-depth, multidimensional healing again. So yeah, please just reach out, email what it is that you might need some support with, and I'll direct you to one of the services that I feel could be the most resonant to your transformation and your unique individual experience, because that's important too. All right, my loves, have a beautiful rest of your day. Remember to like, subscribe, turn your notifications on, and share this, comment so that we can allow this beautiful messaging to be received by the souls that need us the most. Until next time, Adonai.